Welcome to No Broken Legs podcast. I am Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, week 15 is here and the playoffs are knocking on the door.
Yeah, we're right around the corner. We still got a lot of divisions up for grabs, and we got Saturday football today, Big Ten championship game, so a lot to be excited for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have something special for our audience. I am going to make the case for the Cleveland Browns to extend Baker Mayfield as soon as possible. But first, week 15 started out with the Chargers beating the Raiders in overtime on Thursday night. Herbert continues to shine, but just a crushing loss for Vegas. Is this pretty much the end of the playoffs for them?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't really think they were ever a playoff caliber team. I think they're right where they are. They're that step just below the teams that are going to go to the playoffs. Their roster construction just has to get a little bit better. I do think Gruden's doing a fine job as a coach. I just think there's just a couple spots on the roster they got to get a little better, and then they'll be okay. Defensively, they've just got to improve, and I still think they need an upgraded quarterback. I mean, Marcus Mariota appeared to throw the football better than Derek Carr did down the field. So that's not what you want. That's not ideal. So I think they're probably in the market for a quarterback. And like I said, I mean, you were a little higher on the Raiders than I was at the start of the year. They actually have won more games than I thought they would. That's a horrible loss. I mean, the Chargers find a way to lose to everybody, and you didn't really even put the game in pressure. Like, you didn't really even make Anthony Lynn make horrible decisions at the end. And everybody's been able to do that.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Move over Dallas and San Francisco because the Browns and the Giants are taking over Sunday night. Cleveland's coming off a heartbreaker against Baltimore. They're traveling to New York. Denzel Ward should be back for this game. It looks like Wyatt Teller's going to be out, though. The Browns are favored by 6.5, and Jimmy, I get to ask you a question I don't think I've asked in 20 years. Will the Browns get back to their winning ways on Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely, for plenty of reasons. I do think Wyatt Teller not being out is a big deal because the offense just looks so much better when that line is a whole unit.
Yeah, but they'll have Chubb this time in the lineup, so you're not missing those two key pieces.
Right, but I think where it comes down to, and we've been talking about this for about a month now, get used to hearing biggest game of Baker Mayfield's career, biggest game of Kevin Stefanski's head coaching career. This is the game, right? Their difference between making the playoffs is about 30%. If they win this game, they're in the mid-90s. If they lose this game, it's in the high 60s. And we know if the Browns have a high 60% chance of making the playoffs, it might as well be a 0. Like, weird shit will happen, and they will not make the playoffs. The Giants fooled us. The Giants had about a month of playing really poor teams and made their defense look really, really good. Neither one of us are that high on the Cardinals anymore, and the Cardinals absolutely smacked the Giants all around the field.
Yeah, they beat them up.
And then you throw in Freddie Kitchens is calling the plays. Colt McCoy might be at quarterback. This is a game that, as a Browns fan, normally I'd be like, they'll find a way to lose. We're different Browns fans. We've escaped the Munchausen syndrome. We're seeing the upside of the Kevin Stefanski-led Cleveland Browns. There's no reason to believe they're going to lose this game. There's no reason to believe they're not going to win it by at least a touchdown. So I'm super happy at the 6.5 because they have to be a touchdown better than the Giants. There's no reason they can't win this game. They should win it pretty easily, and then their playoff ticket is pretty much punched, and that's exactly what you want. You want your playoff ticket punched the week before you get to play the Jets and really make the Steelers game not matter. That's what you want, and it looks like that's what they can do with a win this week.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the Browns win this game. They should be able to run the ball. The offense has been looking really good. The defense is not, but I just don't see how the Giants are going to be able to capitalize on the things the Browns do poorly on defense.
Right, I agree.
And I teased it earlier, but I was really digging into Baker Mayfield, and when we were watching the game on Monday night, I went down to Matt's and watched the game with friend of the show, Matt Tennant, and I looked over at him during that fourth quarter when Baker Mayfield he had 2 touchdowns and a rush touchdown. So he had 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, helping them come back. After he threw that terrible pick, he was 12 of 15 for 151 yards, 148 rating. I am ready to say that Baker's the guy and the Browns should extend him immediately. Here is my reasoning. There's two certainties when it comes to extending a quarterback. The first certainty is you do not want to overpay an average quarterback. I don't think Baker Mayfield's an average quarterback. I think he's better than that. The other thing that we know for certain is that the longer you wait to sign your quarterback, the more expensive it's going to be.
Right.
So just as an example, Dallas offered Dak Prescott a 5-year, $35 million per year deal. Prescott turned that down and said, I'll sign for 4 years at $35 per year, or I'll sign a 5-year deal where the 5th year is at $45 million. And everybody balked at that and said, oh my God, Dallas would be crazy to sign this deal. Well, what are we seeing happen? Dak paid $31.4 million this year, and when they franchise him for next year, they're going to pay close to $38, $39 million. When you add those two numbers together, they're going to pay Dak Prescott $35 million to play. Well, he got hurt this year, but for this year and next year, that's $70 million. That's $35 million a year. So if they hold on to him in the future, they're going to have to pay higher than what they would have paid before. Or they're going to let him go and try and find a quarterback. And I would ask any Cleveland Browns fan how easy that is to do.
Here's where I guess I'm kind of coming out of it from a different spot than you are. And I 100% agree with you. And this is the reason. There are still Cleveland Browns fans, even after watching that game Monday night, there are still Cleveland Browns fans that doubt Baker Mayfield is the guy.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Is Baker Mayfield Patrick Mahomes? No. Is he Russell Wilson? No. Is he Deshaun Watson? No. Is Baker Mayfield the 5th best quarterback in the NFL? Probably not. Does he have a coach and a system and an offensive roster around him where the Cleveland Browns can compete for division championships and playoff berths every single year, which if you make the playoffs, there's always a chance that you go on an Eli run and a Super Bowl comes to town. Yes, he is that good. He has proven, especially that game Monday night, where it wasn't the designed rollouts. It was Baker Mayfield in the pocket throwing darts all over the football field. He was as good as Lamar Jackson. I mean, honestly, he was a better quarterback than Lamar.
Lamar had a great day running the ball.
Yeah, Lamar threw a couple ducks, and Lamar is just so explosive when he runs. But Baker Mayfield stood toe-to-toe with last year's MVP and was the better quarterback on the field. He just doesn't have any defense. That's not his fault.
No.
For the first time, you know what? I don't actually want to say the first time because I think as Cleveland Browns fans, we're so quick to bash all the quarterbacks we've had. I think since the Browns have came back, they've had 3 or 4 decent quarterbacks. Where if they would have just stuck with those quarterbacks and then tried to build the organization and the team and the roster around them, they could have been competitive instead of continuing to draft the Brady Quinns and the Brandon Whedons and the Johnny Manziels and always looking for there's always somebody better in the draft. No, there's not. Browns fans, no, there's not. There is nobody in the draft where the Browns are going to be picking. There are no free agents out there that you're going to be able to get for less than what you could just extend Baker Mayfield for. And now we can spend all the capital we have on the defensive side of the ball. And, you know, whether Browns fans like them or not, Jarvis and Odell are polarizing players that other players in the league like. If you're a defensive free agent, you want national primetime games, you want national attention, you want a chance to play in the postseason. The Cleveland Browns offer you that.
Yeah,
right?
And especially if they keep Baker in. So can I throw some numbers at you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's say I'm actually just throwing the Dallas Dak extension at Baker Mayfield. 5 years, $35 million a year. So that's $175 million over the course of the contract, which sounds like a ton. But that's paying him less than what Patrick Mahomes just signed for. It pays him less than what Deshaun Watson is currently being paid. That puts him right at what Russell Wilson is being paid this season, but his contract is up in 2024, and his extension will pay him more than $40 million a year. So you'll only have him at what Russ is for maybe a year or two.
Yeah.
Here's where I look at it. if you count next year and his 5th-year option as part of this deal, now you're looking at a 7-year contract at around $220 million, which is roughly $31.5 million a year. Now that gives you a little bit of wiggle room if Mayfield wants a little more, or you could offer him a little bit more in guaranteed. But I think this is doing with Baker what Kansas City has done with Mahomes. Yeah, the numbers jump off the sheet when you look at it individually, but when you count that extension and the 2 remaining years on his rookie deal combined, you can sign Baker Mayfield for around $35 million a year over those 7 years. And based on what the market is right now, I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, it is perfectly acceptable for a quarterback that is. You can say everything good that happened the rookie year was because there was no tape and people probably didn't expect him. People probably expected Baker to be way more Johnny Manziel than what he was, and he probably took the league by storm.
I think teams in general just didn't care about the Browns. They were coming off a 1-31 2-year stretch, so you're not paying attention to them.
Yeah, so you could say he took everybody, kind of was able to depants a lot of defenses. And then you can say last year, there wasn't an adult in the room to be a leader. There were no leader of men, and it all fell apart. I look at what Baker is in year 1 with no offseason with Kevin Stefanski, and I cannot, however long we have Kevin Stefanski, I want Baker Mayfield under center.
Yeah, he seems like a really good fit for what they want to do.
They've got a good rapport. They trust each other. The press conferences after the losses are as impressive as the press conferences after the wins. I love everything that is happening, and I don't understand why you would not just go ahead and re-sign him and get that done. So now you can put all the resources that you have. You have your offensive pieces. Nick Chubb's a little bit different because it's just hard to believe that 3 or 4 years from now, Nick Chubb is not going to look even better than he does now. But, you can only ignore so much empirical evidence for running backs. But
yeah, what they do with Chubb is I don't want them to give him a huge contract, but he's definitely earned what he's getting into the $12-13 million range. If not, what McCaffrey was, 15, 16?
Yeah, I believe McCaffrey was like 16.5.
Yeah, and then he immediately got hurt.
Yep.
The problem is when this is kind of getting off of Baker here for a second, but with Chubb, it's just you see all of the big contracts that running backs have signed, and almost every single one of them looks awful in year 2.
Yeah, so that's kind of a different situation, but you've got all these offensive pieces under control.
Yeah.
Go ahead and for once, let's say for the next 7 years, we know who our freaking quarterback's going to be, and let's build the rest of the roster.
It's crazy talk, Jimmy. You don't need a quarterback to win NFL games. Look at the Browns the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's been very successful. You're absolutely right. But yeah, no. Like I said, I completely agree with you, and those numbers are totally reasonable.
Yeah, and anybody out there that's ripping their hair out at those numbers, just go look at what quarterbacks are getting paid now. Look at the other quarterback contracts, and look when, I mentioned Russell Wilson's currently being paid $35. Obviously, Baker's not as good as Russell Wilson, but this is the market. This is what happens with teams. And you mentioned it earlier. I thought your point about Stefanski and Baker being able to take advantage of a year where they have a better team than teams with a better quarterback. I think what you're comparing them to is the team I thought of, which is the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
We saw Atlanta take advantage and make a couple of runs. Now, they only made one Super Bowl, and fans may look at that and go, oh, that's super disappointing. But fans in general underestimate how difficult it is to make the playoffs. They underestimate how difficult it is to make a championship game, and then they regularly misunderstand how difficult it is to actually win a championship.
Yeah, and in Atlanta was, they had some heartbreaking playoff losses.
Yeah, they really, if you look at it, if they had had better coaching, you look at them to win a Super Bowl and maybe make another.
Yeah.
They definitely make at least another NFC championship game.
Yep.
So I think that's a good way for the Browns to look at building their organization, because I'm just going to tell Cleveland Browns fans this right now. There are going to be games in the future where the Browns have to play somebody like the Chiefs, and you're going up against Mahomes, and he's just going to beat you. And you're going to do and Baker and the Browns can play awesome, and they're just going to lose because somebody like Patrick Mahomes is just better.
Yeah.
That's going to happen in playoff games in the future, and we just need to be ready for that and not freak out about it. It's year 3 for Baker. It's year 1 for Stefanski. I'm super excited. They've already met my expectations for this year. They've already cleared that bar, so I'm super excited to see what they do moving forward.
Yep, I completely agree.
All right, well, let's get on to the rest of the Week 15 slate. Buffalo is traveling to Mile High, where they are favored by 5.5 over the Broncos. I've been dissing Drew Lock all year. He's made me look stupid, and I'm going to give him another chance here because I'm taking Buffalo as a lock.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really understand this line. I don't know how you play that game against Pittsburgh. It's only 5.5 with Denver. I think Buffalo wins this game by a touchdown. This is an easy pick for me. I still think Denver's kind of overvalued. Now, I would say, and I think probably a lot built into this line is if this isn't the definition of a trap game, you beat the undefeated Steelers, and now you have to go on the road to a place that's typically hard to play. Denver's played hard their last 2 weeks. Drew Lock has looked a little better in second halves of games. So I think that's probably kind of cooked into the line as the possible of the trap game. But I think McDermott is a really good coach, and I just think their roster, their talent will be enough to handle it. I think Buffalo wins by a touchdown. So it's Bills for me pretty easy.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, if Buffalo has to win this game to keep pace with Pittsburgh for the 2 seed, I just see Buffalo playing good football right now, and this should be a game. If you're going to compete against Kansas City in the playoffs, you have to win this game.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You have to blow out Denver. Well, you don't have to blow them out, but you have to win this game easily. This has to be at least, up, if they come back and get a backdoor cover, whatever, but you need to be up by double digits in the fourth quarter of this game. Aaron Rodgers is looking for another MVP and maybe a whole lot more. He can help his cause with the Packers hosting Carolina. Panthers are not officially eliminated from the playoffs as of yet, but I think Green Bay finishes that job Sunday in the Pack roll. It's an 8-point spread, and I'm laying the points, Jimmy.
Yeah, I was high on the Panthers. I like their roster construction. I love their hiring at their coach. I mean, Christian McCaffrey being hurt caused them a problem. What they do is spread the ball around a lot on offense, but Green Bay's secondary is really playing well. Their front is getting after the quarterback, and Teddy still doesn't do well with that. He still doesn't do well when the blitzes kind of come from everywhere, and Mike Pettin really has Green Bay's defense playing well. I really expect it to be the Packers and the Rams at this point in the NFC Championship game. I think it'll be a great game. Yeah, I'm taking the Packers here. To me, right now, Aaron Rodgers is the MVP of the league, and I think we've talked about how we kind of feel like Aaron Rodgers is definitely if I think I can get the MVP, I will go out and throw 6 touchdowns against everybody. I don't care kind of guy, and that's exactly what I expect to continue today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how these last 3 weeks play out between him and Mahomes. If Mahomes and the Chiefs are 15-1 and they're the 1 seed, and the Packers are 13-3 in the 1 seed, their numbers are super close. So it's really going to come down to these last 3 games.
Yeah, and I think and I just think part of the problem for Kansas City is they looked so dominant early in the season, and now they're playing in some closer games. And even though Mahomes and Rodgers' numbers look very comparable, you would probably say Mahomes isn't playing as well, even though he's probably playing a little better. But just because overall, Kansas City's run defense isn't doing really well right now. Like, teams are even behind and they're able to run on them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just because they're not blowing teams out and beating everybody by 3 touchdowns now that you think, well, maybe they're not as good. Well, newsflash, they're still as good. But other teams have adapted a little bit. But I think, Aaron Rodgers, everybody was kind of, this fits that good narrative. You drafted my backup. You didn't get me any pieces to help. Well, that's fine. I'll just throw 30 balls a game to Devontae Adams. I don't care.
Well, it is effective.
It's a great narrative, so I imagine Rodgers gets the MVP.
All right. Well, we will see. Tennessee is favored by 11.5 against Detroit. The Titans need this to stay up in the AFC South. Stafford's banged up. Detroit's center's out. I like Tennessee here, but this game scares me, and I think it's a stay away. For bettors, I think it's a stay away.
Yeah, it's definitely a stay away. I'm going to pick the Titans as well. I kind of thought
it's so many points.
It's so many points. If Matt Stafford was even remotely healthy, but I watched the poor guy get folded up like a pretzel and try to continue to play a football game. Matt Stafford is tough. He's a tough dude. He probably doesn't get enough credit for that. If Stafford plays, they can probably cover the 11.5 because the Titans still don't have any defense. And it's just, how much energy does the Titans defense play with? Because some weeks they play like they played last week, and some weeks they played like they played against Cleveland.
Yeah.
Their defense just does not get up for every game. But Detroit has no run defense, so Tennessee should have no problem just staying on script. But I agree with you. It's a lot of points late in the season for a team to be laying, but I am going to take the Titans, but it would be a stay away.
And a message from me to Matt Stafford. You don't owe the Detroit Lions anything at this point. You've proven everything you need to prove. If you're hurt, just get out.
Yep.
It's time to get out of Detroit, Matt. Another stay away for me is the 49ers traveling to take on the Cowboys. And Jimmy, how the mighty have fallen. This game got bumped for our Brownies. I love it. The 49ers and Cowboys are kind of among that NFL royalty, so that brings me a great amount of joy. I'll take the Niners because we pick all the games, but this is another stay away for me.
Oh, yeah, this is not a stay away for me. This is a lock for the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh.
I think it was super smart. It was super smart of the NFL to do what they did. I mean,
agreed.
Jim Rome has been such a polarizing figure in his career. I think, he probably, I think to a point, he feels like Colin Cowherd kind of took a lot of his shine. So, Jim Rome for weeks now, even a little bit last year, but for weeks now has been calling Cleveland America's team. That people are just, whether you want them to win or lose, you want to watch them, you want to see what's going on. And, the Giants, whether we like it or not, are playing for a division as well. This Dallas-San Francisco game doesn't really have anything going on. But I just feel like Kyle Shanahan is worth 4 points more than Mike McCarthy. Both their teams are beat up, but I don't see any way the Niners don't win by at least a field goal.
I made my pick based on coaching, but these teams are so erratic. I don't want to have any money on this game. Our next matchup is Minnesota's hosting Chicago in the third straight stay away for me on this. I hate both of these teams. They've done nothing but make me miserable. This is definitely a loser leaves the playoff chase game. I'm taking the Bears with the points because I don't know. I'm just taking the points. That's what I'm doing with these teams. Mitch Trubisky continues to defy logic.
Yeah, there's nothing in my body that makes me believe the Bears can build off of a dominant performance last week. That was the best Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago Bears have probably looked since Mitch Trubisky was drafted. Well, I mean, Houston doesn't have a defense. For whatever reason, they went to Chicago and were totally flat. I don't believe that the Bears can do that 2 weeks in a row, so I'm taking the Vikings. I don't like either of these teams. They've been so hard and so unpredictable, which is the last thing you want when you're trying to predict the future. You want predictability.
Yeah.
And neither of these teams have really given us that week in and week out. But I think the Vikings can do enough. I think the Bears will have to commit enough resources to try to stop Dalvin Cook that Cousins should be able to get the ball to Jefferson and Thielen. So I'm taking the Vikings.
Very fair. It made me laugh when you said, I don't think the Bears can do that 2 weeks in a row, because I thought, which is probably why they'll do it 2 weeks in a row, because that's what the Bears do. They just constantly defy expectations, whether good or bad.
Damn you, that's very reasonable.
Yeah, and you know what? It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Tampa Bay hosts Atlanta, and for the trouble of traveling down south, the Falcons are getting 6 points. I like Tampa here. They need this game, and I don't like Atlanta's defense. I don't think they can harass Brady enough to make this a real contest.
So this is one of the games I really like. I just kind of sat and stared at yesterday over and over again. And I'm going to take the Falcons. I wouldn't, there was not one money line that I'm betting this week because I just don't think any of the underdogs are going to win. But I just feel like 6 points is too many points for a home team in a division game this late in the year.
Yeah, first meeting between these two teams.
Yeah, it's their first game. Now, there's no Julio, which Matt Ryan doesn't usually play as well without Julio. But Calvin Ridley's fully healthy, so he should be okay. What Tampa does well on defense is stop the run, but Atlanta doesn't try to run. So it's not going to affect them. I definitely think Tampa wins, but I feel like Atlanta, it'll be like a 4 or 5 point game. So I'm taking the Falcons here. It just seems like a lot of points.
I could buy that. I don't feel very strongly about this game. I do think Tampa wins. I think they end up winning this by about 10, actually.
Well, there you go.
But I don't feel confident enough. It's definitely not a lock. And this is another one of those games that it's not a stay away, but I don't really trust what's going on there. I don't trust that Atlanta team one way or the other.
Right.
2 weeks ago, Houston fumbled away their chance to beat Indianapolis. The two teams face a game this time in Indy. The Colts are favored by 7.5. This is another stay away for me because I don't trust either of these teams. I'll take Houston in the points because they should have won 2 weeks ago, but to be honest, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans as well. I'm just going to continue to take Deshaun Watson against quarterbacks I think he's better than. That's just what I'm going to keep doing. They should have beat Indy last time. I don't see why it would be that different this time. And they're going to be looking to get right after what happened to them in Chicago. And I kind of see Indy coming into this one kind of expecting to cakewalk through it. I think you'll have another big Jonathan Taylor game, but I'm going to go ahead and take Houston. I'm just going to continue to keep picking against Indy. I mean, if Indy goes deep in the playoffs, I'm going to lose a lot of money in the AFC playoffs.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so either, but I don't trust them. I don't like them. I think they're fraudulent, and I can't wait for them to lose in the playoffs.
Yeah, me neither. I really don't like that Colts team. NFL games are about matchups, Jimmy, and that's what I thought about when I was looking at the Seattle-Washington game. All I see is that front four of the football team dominating the Seahawks' weak O-line and Russ running for his life. I like the football team here. I'm laying the 6.5 and taking them. I almost made it a lock, and I really like Washington plus 233 in the money line.
Wow, I love that. Now you do know Alex Smith is out and Dwayne Haskins is starting.
Yeah, I think they're going to focus on running the ball because Ron Rivera does not trust Dwayne Haskins. I think they're going to play ball control and try and let that defense just grind Seattle to dust. And I just don't really trust that Seattle defense. I still don't. They just dropped a game to the Giants 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no arguments there. I'm taking Seattle because they need this football game. And I know it's kind of a horrible reason to take a team, but they have to have this game to try to keep pace with LA to try to stay in the division hunt. I think it's going to be an ugly football game. Russ is not going to cook, but I see, a couple of big scramble plays where he finds Lockett and Metcalf, and it's enough. Seattle's defense, Jamal Adams is fully healthy, fully engaged. They're looking a little better. I think they'll be able to do enough to Dwayne Haskins to flip the field a couple times, and I think Russ will be locked in, and I think the Seahawks win this one.
Yeah, this is my flyer pick. I don't know. I just saw this game and just had a feeling. I don't know.
Oh, no. I get it, man. I mean, Washington's front is for real. Like, the Washington football team, they are a legit defense. With Alex Smith, they're a legit offense. I just don't know what I think Haskins is going to look like. But I agree with you.
Yeah, that's very fair.
But I think Pete Carroll also, when he sees a team that has a really good front, as long as Chris Carson's healthy, he tries to just kind of run a lot of traps and draws to try to get a little pressure off of Russ, so hopefully he'll do that this week.
Strange things tend to happen when New England travels to Miami. The Dolphins started out favored by 1.5. I've seen this as high as 3. I made the Dolphins a lock. They're playing really good football right now. I know people are screaming at at their laptops or their headphones right now. But Evan, Bill Belichick kills first-year quarterbacks. And yes, he normally does, but I don't think it happens this time.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, like, Belichick could absolutely destroy Tua, and the Dolphins could still win this football game.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, it's a lock for me as well. I don't understand why the line is what it is. New England is not a good football team this year. Cam has never looked right after COVID. Excuse me. And Miami's just, they're still battling, man. They've still got the playoff aspirations. They're still right there. Tua's had some great performances recently. They've got the right pieces. And Brian Flores is going to want to win this game. You know, this is a big game for him. He doesn't want to lose it. He doesn't want to wake up Monday morning and have to watch the narrative of another Belichick. Ex-coach can't beat Belichick in a big game. Like, this is a big game for Miami. It doesn't really mean anything for New England. Like, they're not making the playoffs. I really just don't think they're going to be up for this game enough to get the win. So this is an easy lock for me with Miami.
Yeah, and I have nothing more to add to this game. Another lock for me is Baltimore is favored by 13 over Jacksonville. We've seen it all year, even when Baltimore struggled against even average teams, they just destroy bad teams.
Yeah, I agree. There's no reason the Ravens shouldn't be able to beat the Jaguars by 2 touchdowns. And
yeah, I think it's that simple.
If they only win this game by like 10 points, then you really have to question what's going on with Baltimore. Like, this could, but it also kind of has a flat trap vibe for them as well, because that was the game of the season for them last week, and now you go, cool. Well, now we just got Jacksonville, and I don't think there's anything that could happen for Baltimore to lose the game, but they need to win by 2 touchdowns to keep their confidence building. So I'm also taking Baltimore, but if they don't dominate this game, we'll learn a lot about Baltimore.
I agree, and I think they're going to steamroll Jacksonville. That's what's going to happen. Jacksonville's not good.
Yeah, it should be another, especially after last week. That was kind of a coming out party. Should see a lot of J.K. Dobbins this week.
Yeah, and speaking of teams that aren't good, the New York Jets are playing the L.A. Rams, and I just want to throw some of these numbers at you because I saw them and they made me laugh hysterically. The Rams are favored by 17.5 points in this game. The money lines, the Rams are minus 2,000, meaning you have to bet $2,000 to win 100. The Jets are plus 1,000. These are college line numbers, basically, Jimmy. Yep. I like the Rams here. They're going to win this game. I don't know if they cover 17.5. A lot of crazy stuff can happen. They should. They should win this game by a couple touchdowns. They should win this game by 3 touchdowns easy.
So here's the thing. I think the Rams are one of the 2 best teams in the NFC. I think they're more balanced than Seattle. I think they have a few more playmakers than Green Bay does on defense, but they don't have Aaron Rodgers. That's the only reason I don't think they're the clear-cut number 1 team in the NFC.
Yeah, I would say they're more balanced than Green Bay, though.
Yeah, I think either the Rams or the Packers are going to the Super Bowl in the NFC. Sean McVay is a young, brilliant head coach. Sean McVay also coaches a lot of football games like it's 1989. He is not he's not a big analytics guy. He's not a run up the score, pedal down guy. I'm taking the Jets as a lock here. I don't think Sean McVay desires to beat any team by 17, 18, 21 points.
I think that's sound logic. Especially if he's going to he's been keeping the keys out of the hands of Jared Goff, so if they run the ball more, covering 17.5 points is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I think he'll take some shot plays early in the game because the Jets do still have a decent run defense, so I think he'll take some shots early, and then I think in the second half of the game it'll just be all 3 running backs who use all 3 of them, and they're just going to plow their head right into the Jets' front 4 and see what happens. Like, it's weird because to listen to Sean McVay talk and look at him, you would think, but he's not like Kyle Shanahan. Like, he's not an analytics guy. He's not a go for it on 4th and 2 from the 50. He's a punt the ball. He's got a lot of Pete Carroll in him. And I just don't think I don't see him feeling the need to score late in this football game. It's weird because I love the Rams. I love the Rams, but somehow the Jets are going to keep this to like 15 points.
Arizona is hosting Philadelphia in a game of former Sooner quarterbacks. The Cardinals are favored by 6.5 over their avian cousins. Jimmy, I got to be honest, I have absolutely no clue what to do with either of these teams.
Yeah,
what the hell do we do?
Yeah, I hate this game. I hate these teams. I won't watch a snap. This will be my no snap to watch game for the week. I'm taking Philly because I think if they can just have the same blueprint they had last week, they can win this game. But it's a total stay away from me. I don't trust either of these teams. Neither of them have been consistent enough. And I just want nothing to do with this, but I am taking the Eagles. They really seem to have a spark with Jalen Hurts last week, so I'm taking Philly.
Yeah, I'm taking Philly and the points. When in doubt, take the points.
Yep.
Drew Brees is going to return for New Orleans in their marquee matchup against Kansas City. The Chiefs are favored by 3 here, and I'm making this a lot because I feel like this line should be a lot higher.
Yep.
And just a little side note out there for our listeners, the Travis Kelce over-under for yardage is 84.5. It's been around the mid-80s pretty much all season. He has hit that 5 of the last 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and in the week that he didn't hit it, he put up 82 yards.
Yeah, it'll be 6 or 7 after this week.
Yes, I've been betting that the last 3 weeks, and it has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a lock for me as well. The Chiefs are going to win this game. This is going to be a statement game for the Chiefs. They haven't played a contender, like a team that really should be able to compete with them in a handful of weeks. I still don't know what the hell happened during those 2 Raider games, but it is what it is. The Saints defense has been playing really well the last couple weeks. They have not been facing Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs are going to handle this game. I don't know what Drew Brees is going to look like coming back. I would say the Chiefs are one of the bottom 5 teams against the run in the league. And they're also at the top of the league in time of possession. They've been winning football games. So teams are still running against them at a great clip even though they're losing, which just means the Chiefs can't stop you when you run. So this should be a huge Alvin Kamara game. But the problem is teams try to run just to try to sustain drives, just to try to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. But it still doesn't matter because when he gets on the field 4 plays later, they've scored a touchdown. It's not going to matter. The Saints, in my opinion, they do not have the firepower to compete in this football game. The Chiefs are going to handle this.
Was it Sunday that we were taught that Tyreek Hill had those 2 mammoth plays?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It was funny on Sunday when Tyreek Hill took that. I don't remember if that was an end around or an actual reverse, but he was running towards the edge, and you could see the two defenders were being blocked, but they were closing, and Hill just hit a burst and just blew through that and was in the end zone. And I remember texting you. It was just sheesh. What do you do with that? And then, what was it, half a quarter or a quarter later when Hill just ran by everybody and they threw the touchdown pass, and I just text messaged you, sheesh.
Yep. It's
like, what do you do?
Disgusting. Yep.
Pittsburgh is traveling to Cincinnati. They're favored by 13, and I actually like them as a lock here, even though they've let some teams hang around them and haven't been playing well. Their schedule got all messed up. They've had to play a bunch of games in a shorter amount of period, just like Baltimore did. I think they actually got some time to rest, get their head straight, and I think they just bulldoze a bad Bengals team.
There's maybe 2 teams in the league I would pick the Steelers to beat by more than 10 points. The Bengals are one of them. It's a lock for me as well. The Steelers should have no problem in this football game.
The fantasy playoffs are here, Jimmy, and everybody at the No Broken Legs family. We want you to be successful in your league. To do that, you've got to have the Week 15 studs in your lineup. Jimmy, who are the quarterbacks that are going to lead our listeners to victory?
All right, so I think the thing that's cool about quarterback this week is the same thing that was cool about wide receiver last week. You don't have to try to be cute. You don't have to try to play the streamers. Play the guys you drafted to be your starting quarterback. The only two exceptions I could see Jared Goff throwing like 3 first-half touchdowns, and I could see Jalen Hurts accounting for like 85% of the Eagles' offense. So those are the only two guys out of the big name quarterbacks that I would give a flyer on. But if it's Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, the guys that you drafted to be your starting quarterback, you're here in the playoffs. Don't get cute with it. Go ahead and start them.
Yeah, if you're thinking about benching any of those guys, then you're probably not in the playoffs of your fantasy league. Or I just you got to start those guys. It's the playoffs.
Yep.
How about in the backfield?
All right. So this is the week that a lot of people that did a lot of draft research and did a lot of mock drafts to see how late in the draft they can get some guys. This is the week they get rewarded. So first off, the RB1 this week will be Derrick Henry. If you are playing against Derrick Henry in the fantasy playoffs this week, you're probably going to lose, guys. I'm sorry. The Lions' run defense is horrible. Derrick Henry looks unstoppable right now. Derrick Henry's going to go off. But after that, I think the four best plays at running back are the four rookies: Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, and DeAndre Swift. All four of them, for the most part, have underperformed. You undervalued them. You possibly dropped them, re-picked them back up. They've been sitting on your bench because their coaches just didn't want to trust them and give them the keys to the car. Over the last couple weeks, all four of these players, their coaches have been more and more willing to roll with them and let them get the job done, and all four of them have been succeeding. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, and Cam Akers, I really do believe will be RBs 2, 3, or 4 this week. DeAndre Swift, it's a little bit of a toss-up because I don't know with Matt Stafford what it's going to be. Like, if Stafford doesn't play and it's Chase Daniels, do they just put Adrian Peterson back there and just run him into the line of scrimmage? You know, I don't know what that'll look like. But the other three are absolute smash starts this week. If you have them, get them in your lineups. And then you can round it out with Aaron Jones today should look great. Nick Chubb, no reason to doubt Nick Chubb. He continues to absolutely smash. And then, like I said, KC does not do well against the run. When Taysom Hill was in at quarterback, Alvin Kamara kind of underperformed. With Breeze back, Alvin Kamara should be back to right where he belongs, as like a top 5 fantasy running back. So that's where you're focusing at running back this week.
Does Edmonds get any love over Drake, or are they still just going to continue that?
I hate it because
I don't even know what to call it. It doesn't seem to make any sense.
No, because Chase Edmonds is by far better than Kenyon Drake, but Cliff Kingsbury just doesn't really seem to know what he wants to do with the offense. And it doesn't really matter. It seems like when they want to run the ball, they just let Kyler do dumb shit. So,
yeah.
What
about our? Go ahead.
They'd both be stayaways for me if I had any other options.
Yeah, it's a shame because I think Edmonds is a really good player, and we'll have to see if he can develop and take that role next year.
Yeah, well, I believe Kenyon Drake is not under contract after this year, so.
Which makes it even more mystifying that they wouldn't give Edmonds more carries. Like, at least see what you have in him.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree with that.
So we mentioned Travis Kelce earlier as a lock to go over 85 yards. What other pass catchers are out there that can really help put up big numbers?
So really, I think this will be the second week in a row that you really are just looking at your usual suspects. The guys that you drafted first, second round are the guys that should smash. Devontae Adams will be great again. Don't even consider any fades there. We know I am a huge Bobby Trees, a.k.a. Robert Woods fan for the Rams. I think he'll get a couple touchdowns this week early in the game. Only problem is if he doesn't get any touchdowns early in the game, then he's probably not going to really score very many points. I like DK more than Tyler, but both of them in Seattle should be okay. I think the two outliers of the big-name wide receivers, Brandon Ayuk for San Francisco. I see him having a really big game against Dallas. And then T.Y. Hilton has really got going. He's traditionally always played well against Houston. So if T.Y. is on your bench, he could even be on some waiver wires out there in deeper leagues. You might be able to just pick up T.Y. Hilton and get him in your lineup because he should smash again against Houston.
Any strong thoughts in terms of kickers, defenses? Is there anybody out there that might be a good flyer to take? I mean, I'm sure everybody's going to want the Rams against the Jets, but not everybody can have the Ram against the Jets. So
no, that's if you can do it, because that should be the overall defense.
Excellent. Any final thoughts on Week 15, Jimmy?
The only thing that I think of, so if I was in my fantasy playoffs and I had a quarterback I wasn't super happy about, and I was projected to lose, like, where I'm down, like, let's say I'm down 15 points with my starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I think back to the game that Baker Mayfield played against the Cincinnati Bengals after they put Hugh Jackson back on their staff.
Okay.
And I wonder what Baker Mayfield is going to look like tomorrow night when he looks across the field and he sees Freddie Kitchens calling offensive plays. And I just wonder if Baker Mayfield, and I wonder if Kevin Stefanski is not going to be like, let's kind of do what we did against Tennessee. Let's take a bunch of shots. Let's try to get this game over with, and then we'll pound the ball in the second half. Like, I could see another situation where Baker puts up another 4 or 5 touchdown performance. I think there's a really, really low floor with Baker, but I could also see another 4 or 5 touchdown performance from him this week.
You just made me think of something with that mention of the Bengals game with Hugh Jackson. I am making it a lock. Baker Mayfield is going to throw a touchdown, and he's just going to stare down Freddie Kitchens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That is a 100% lock.
There's a very good chance it may be a run by the sideline.
All right. Well, that is our show for Week 15. Jimmy, thank you for joining me.
No place else I'd rather be, bud.
All right. I am Evan Belfiore, and on behalf of Jimmy, we would like to wish all of you out there a safe and socially distanced, mask-wearing Christmas weekend. We will be here next week to round up all of the action and give you the lowdown on Week 16 in the NFL.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me